Greetings and salutations to all. I'm Erin'dua Faeriefire, or I should say the person behind the feline. As many do, you can just simply call me Erin. Today, we'll be putting the RP into your MMORPG, or RPG MMO. Yeah, mix that up. Harumph. I'm a professional. Okay, a little about myself first. I started role-playing from a young age. Mind you, normal cringy kid stuff. I used to do more free-form role-playing on forums in the early days of Yahoo Chat. Did quite a bit of role-playing in the early days of World of Warcraft. Then got into tabletop role-playing like Palladium, Dungeons & Dragons, Mouse Guard, and Pathfinder. I'm what is called a forever GM or DM, and I like to use role-playing to get myself into the headspace of NPCs to be used for later or for books I've been working on. Now then, what is role-playing exactly? As Cambridge defines it, to pretend to be a particular character and to behave and react in the way that the character would. So when you find yourself quoting a character from a movie, game, or book at the opportune moment, remember, that's role-playing. Okay. Hold on. Sorry, I lost my place for a second. Okay. Even though you're playing a game that technically isn't an RPG game, you're usually role-playing. Master Chief, Dante, Kratos, Doomslayer, Crash Bandicoot. If you're acting out the character or some estranged headcanon of that, you're role-playing. Made a strange Twitter, now X account based on Ellen Ripley? Or another character you like? Then answering posts like they would or something similar. Yep, same thing. Role-playing is role-playing, but it varies in scale. So don't worry about it and just have fun doing it. Blood for the Blood God, blood for the Blood Lily. I think you got the idea. Spoiler warning. Okay, before we go in too far, there will be some spoilers. I shall declare them out loud, followed with this emote. Okay. I shan't post the spoiler itself as a text dot to help avoid spoiling things. Most will be very minor things, but I don't want to ruin things for those who want to experience the thing with true first-time energy. Character creation, character envisionment. Let's get started by making our character first. The question is where to start. Having a clear vision of the type of character you want to create is a great place to start. But if you already have a character that you adore already, then why not use what you have and flesh them out a bit more? One way to start is looking at other characters as templates from within the Final Fantasy franchise or even outside of it. You can list out core traits like lone wolf, hot-headed, kind, or big mommy energy. Keep in mind that your character can have many traits, not just a few, but some of them will be far more dominant and outweigh others. Even though some of these traits can sound fun or exciting, there needs to be a reason behind it. This is what gives your character a sense of being a character rather than a trope. It's okay to start as a trope, but it can be fun to have a brainstorm session and think about what happened in their life that caused them to be that way. How many friends did they have to lose to make them hesitant to go into battle? How many times were they backstabbed before they lost trust in all others? What is the catalyst that makes them look at everything with hopeful eyes, be it someone they looked up to, a story they read? What is the oh, no, I already did that, sorry. Determination to free those from the wheel that fate had deemed fit. Let's look at a few templates examples before we move on. We'll grab a few from multiple franchises. Let's start with Vivi from Final Fantasy IX. Vivi's primary traits begin with him being clumsy, shy, and rather gullible. Though later in his adventure he gains confidence, bravery, and a better understanding of morality, Vivi also has a sense of existential dread that comes from his short lifespan, which can make for some interesting roleplay, and in fact is what I use for most goblins in the campaigns that I run. It gives them a reason for being ambitious, as they only live for about 25 to 30 years. Garrus from Mass Effect, on the other hand, has a strong sense of discipline and honor, which is also common among his race, though Garrus is also a loose cannon cop who doesn't like rules and regulations that stop him from completing his goals. He wants to do the right thing, but may go about it the wrong way. His growth depends on the actions of Commander Shepard in the game, but overall, he can see the value of keeping those in power in check by the regulations. Goro Majima, on other hand, is quite different from both of our previous characters. His nickname, the Mad Dog Shimano, stems from his ferocity and unpredictability. There are various minigames that show this from the game Yakuza. One famous instance is his performance of the song 24 Hour Cinderella. Despite being from a Yakuza family and rumbling in the streets, he certainly doesn't shy away from a favorite pastime such as karaoke. Even characters with limited actions and dialogues can give inspiration. Grim from Hollow Knight is a very vampiresque character without being an actual vampire. He also starts his fight with a polite bow. His movesets rely on teleportation, magic, and speed. Simply using an aesthetic and a moveset, or even their theme music to inspire a character can also be helpful. Not every character needs to have a deep reservoir of active story to inspire a theme for your character. In fact, it can give you more creative freedom. Less is more. Or as less is more, sorry. Now, we also need a name for a character. So let's talk about naming conventions. What is in a name? Well, Great Healer 27 isn't much of a name, but tells you one of three things about them. Either their name is telling the truth, they're mediocre, or you're going to have a bad time. You can have a username and a character name. Just make sure to write down somewhere or keep it in mind. You can use your adventurer plate to help others remember if that tends to be a problem. Or if you just want to be polite. Though names like Feeling Froggy or Hakuna Maitatas, along with similar character names, may cause some people not to take you very seriously. Race and region will affect your character's name. A Lalafell born and raised in Ul'dah will have a different name than a Lala from Limsa. Same with Makote from southern Thanalan and one who lives in the Shroud. Plains Lala males, for example, have a naming convention of AB, CB. An example being Zorito Monorito. While a Dunes folk male Lalafell, the pattern is of AAB, CCB. Like the name Nunu Lupa, Tata Lupa. So we can see that Zo and Mana are different than Nunu and Tata. The final phonetic repeating in both. Our Dunes folk example having a repeating phonetic of Nu and Nu in the first name, and the last name doing something similar. Now, if the Lalafell was adopted as a waif in the woods by a Vieira who is somewhat familiar with Lalafells, they might unintentionally give them a rather silly name out of ignorance, like Papado Tato Moto, meaning well, but not really aware of Lala naming conventions. Okay. Got a spoiler. So cover your ears. This will be super quick and is very minor. Kral Baldessian is another Lalafell with an unconventional name. Those who've done the latest expansion know why. Okay, you're good to unplug them. Or I'll do it again just in case. I kind of forgot to tell you guys I was going to jump afterwards. But anyways, let's look at a familiar Makote name, for example. Grahatia, being a Makote of the Sun tribe, the first letter of his name is his tribe's name. Raha being his given name. And Tia is more of a status given to Makote males who aren't a breeding patriarch for a tribe. So kind of like Lion's Pride. Meaning his name translates to Raha Tia of the Griffin tribe. Now you know a little more about our little hamburger cat. You can look up more naming conventions for each race by just typing the name of race and naming conventions into a web search, and sites like Fandom will give you an overview. Your character wasn't just born yesterday, so let's think about their life up to this point. Let's look at where they came from. It can be not limited to one, but three of the main starting cities. Where your character is from can greatly affect who they've been around and plausible role models. Maybe your character doesn't want to be a chef like their father. Maybe he shouted at them a tad too much for burning the roast for the 5th time. Perhaps your character is a tad rebellious and yearns to be a part of the 3 pirate factions, looking for doubloons and adventure that awaits. Though your character could love their family, but not wish to take up the family business, like a humble fisherman. Having fears such as large bodies of water, they may take up a life inland and become a farmer instead. Though if your character is an Elysian, they could be from Ishgard, possibly an estranged cousin to one of the high houses or even lowborn. You'll want to do some extensive research if you're planning on being a relation to the high houses, but a merchant or lowborn would be a tad easier to keep track of things. But with Ishgard, you do have role models like Temple Knights or even the Azure Dragoon. Though I would highly advise doing the Heavensward content if you haven't. For nobility, it would be a privilege to be a knight of any sort, as Ishgard has a high value on honor and trial by combat, be it for judicial reasons or out on the field of honor. But you're not limited to that. Remember, you can always have your reasons for any job or a particular role. Sometimes it's just being saved by someone and an undying gratitude, which can be for better or worse. We did briefly mention parents, which can be adversarial or could be loving and even doting. Though they are still a huge factor in a child's life. They could be fully supportive or even a life lesson of what to avoid. They could be absent. They could even be other players, either IRL or just friends that think it would be fun if your characters were siblings. It can be fun to collaborate with others, though do keep in mind that just because you married someone in character doesn't mean that you're married out of character. It's good to have a healthy understanding with friends, and it can be a nice perk if you're both in an actual relationship. But you don't have to be. Though you can always go the route of childhood friends too. There are many ways you can integrate friends into your backstory. We were all kids at one point in time, and you can have tragic moments, but not everyone has fully tragic lives. Even mundane things can be wonderful, like your aunt or grandma making your favorite pie, setting the kitchen on fire with your older sister. One comic strip that I love by McNostril has a concerned orc mother wanting her half-orc son to take a sweater so that he doesn't catch cold while out with his adventuring friends. Another fine example of family dynamics in-game that I personally enjoy is Godbert and his son, Hildebrand the Heliodor Maximilian Mandeville, agent of inquiry, inspector extraordinaire. They have a loving family dynamic, and the mother, Julian Manderville, is one of my personal favorite characters. I would highly advise going through the quest lines if you haven't. Another common factor for characters is their likes and dislikes, which can be simple things such as favorite animal, foods, and even terrain. If you're not sure what your character might like, you can always have their favorite food be reflective of their job. To be fair, all Final Fantasy XIV's food looks delicious. Fears can also be in their set of dislikes, such as high places due to accidents that happen to others, or simply a deep fear, such as a fisherman and the sea. They might have almost drowned at one point in time, having never been able to conquer that. Another thing to think of is what comforts that character, what helps them feel safe or at ease. Everyone needs to de-stress, even adventurers. Motivation and driving force. We spoke of this earlier, involving those who inspire your character, but their motivations can differ from what we've said, such as a pirate wanting money rather than adventure. The Temple Knight wanting a position of power to punish those who kept them down. Perhaps they sought the title to impress someone they love. The one they seek being of noble blood that only a title and strong, honorable reputation will get them closer to. Vengeance is a fine motivation that was part of 14's MSQ and many subquests. Perhaps you seek the six-fingered man who killed your father. It could even be a deadly monster that your father or mother was hunting, or one they simply ran across. What lengths is your character willing to go to accomplish these tasks? This will be your overarching goal. But keep in mind that your character can have mini goals. These keep their major goal afloat, adding a fuel to the flame. We'll touch on that later. Flaws keep our characters interesting and from being stale and rigid. As we discussed with our template characters, they have flaws of their own, but they allow growth, a realization of potential, be it for storytelling or being grounded. Some flaws can be strengths, but not all strengths can be flaws. Being paranoid can ensure it's harder for you to be surprised and makes you leery of possible traps, though it can also be annoying to your traveling companions and cause sleep deprivation. It can provide a moment of growth to trust your resident tracker of the party, or perhaps you're the resident tracker. As much as some of us would like to be flawless, we aren't flawless characters. They're horribly boring. The term Mary Sue comes, as dictionary.com states, originated with a Trekkie's tale. I would highly recommend checking into this further on your own. It's rather hilariously bad, but essentially the character is unrealistically flawless and is able to solve any problem with little to no effort. Flaws can be as simple as clumsy, but you can't always have it go conveniently in a favorable way all the time. It's an overused trope, but can be used for entertainment or suspense. Other flaws can be fears, overprotectiveness, overanalyzing, being too reserved, missing limbs, inability to understand metaphors, using bombs to solve all your problems. Looking at you, Nashu. Aside from flaws, characters also have little quirks to them. You've probably been in a few dungeons and somebody said "Mowdy do" instead of "hello." Not to be confused with My Hero Academia quirks. What differentiates a quirk from a flaw in Kelly Campbell's article, she states flaws need to be overcome or changed. Quirks do not. These can range from little tics that, like having to tap on a glass a certain amount of times, or performing a religious gesture before doing something like eating or starting their day. Many traits can fall into quirks category, like a character always having a pencil tucked behind their ear or having a large amount of freckles. They are attributes that make the character more memorable, or that can be used to identify them. Right? Character profession. What is your character's actual profession that you'll be role-playing? Everyone has a job that brings home the bacon, or perhaps your character's a bum. Not to be confused with a homeless person, mind you. That could be a triple triad professional player. Your move, Kaiba. There are a ton of professions your character can be, ranging from a storm officer, monster hunter, or a humble cafe server. Bards are also a very viable option. You see them in multiple capital cities playing songs. Existing jobs can be used for inspiration, like a couple of my favorites. Astrologian, for one, I use when I'm giving out tarot readings, as it already aligns with what kind of profession. I do use an actual deck of cards and try to do it legitimately for the enjoyment of others with multiple decks. I also like to use culinarian for my own cafe endeavors, with my crafting gear being glam to reflect such. You can outline your character's characteristics if you don't have a direct parallel and see what would fit best. If you're not quite sure, but you have a favorite race and location to live in, then might I suggest using what that area employs or occupations there's a lack of, as well as what jobs your race might favor. You can also go against the grain and do the opposite. Do keep in mind that specific jobs and races have exclusive glamour options. It's always good to dress the part, but it may help to do some research or ask some friends. There are officers' clothes depending on your grand company, and there's options for being a farmer, a foreign spy, or just an accountant. You can search around on sites as Aor's a collection, which will tell you the gear that other people are using for glams. Also, checking around capital cities or looking at people in dungeons can examine their gear and see what they've glammed their gear to be. Don't be afraid to ask about said gear unless they're in a foul mood. Then I'd advise looking elsewhere using keywords in an internet search. A nice looking glam is always a nice bonus, and others will take you a bit more seriously, but you don't have to have the exact clothing. And there are other ways to add a few more details to things, like adding some descriptors into your custom emotes, but we'll get into the technical things later. Ever after period. Just because your character completed one main goal doesn't mean they won't have more. A new goal might appear as expansions release and add more content. New glams, new housing things, minions, and mounts that can complement your character's look. Outside of game content, while you're role-playing with others, may motivate or change your character too. And if you're just wanting to be a party person, go for it. You don't need to be too in-depth, but it's good to have extra information on the back burner. Or perhaps your partying may be what drives you to flesh out more character traits and truly make them feel alive. We have a character. Now what? Okay, let's go on with common pitfalls. Custom race being a big one. There are void scent and etherical imbalances, but it gets just plain silly when you're half demon, half angel, half pure, half elephant, and half pig. Even though you can do what you want with your character and their etheric balance, try to keep things reasonable and believable. If you have to be a headcanon that's shot out of a roller coaster, try to keep it simple. There's a beauty in simplicity and a lot less to keep track of. You can keep the focus on your character interacting with others rather than lineage, unless you're an Ishgardian Elizin. Then your lineage is kind of your thing. This also applies to remaking characters from other games that are in separate universes. Oops. There we go. Okay, spoiler alert. This will cover a few expansions, so cover your ears for 20 seconds. If your character is from a different reflection, be careful when doing this and take some extra time to learn about that particular one. Using an unexplored reflection may lead to heavier retconning of your character should they have us venturing to more. Yeah, Clive did get isekai'd into 16. They've done quite a few of those. Now, if you're bringing a character you've made elsewhere, be sure to pick the closest thing that fits your character, but have their power more scaled down to this universe. Powerful offensive spellcaster? Pick Black Mage or Summoner, then use the job for your role-playing purposes. You can still call them something else, just consider it as a dialect different from somewhere other than Eorzea. Or perhaps there was a nickname for it that a loved one used to address it as. For beginners, I would also advise avoiding isekai type of character in general. Also, gods and goddesses are another tricky subject. Along with a minor spoiler, we destroy those. Oh, well, that just ruined that. There is a nuance that makes hard to balance for players with a lack of self-control. Anyways, let's grab an example from porting a character to Final Fantasy XIV. We'll just borrow Joe Cat's Grabble Gene, the nocturnal giant toad. All rights to Joe Cat. Sadly, we'll have to go with a more limited color palette. And since he's large, we'll have to use one of the larger races, then give him some appropriate clothing so that he's not naked. Then slap some red gloves and weird Vanu feet on him. In universe, he'd be a very large Fuath or Parago, depending on which region you want him to be from. And bam! Grabble Gene is in the game. Since he's a druid, we'll make him a white mage with a flowery staff. You can recolor him however you want to make your own Grabble Gene. Now then, let's try to apply him to another universe. Like Warhammer 40k, behold! Grabble Gene of the Golden Throne, Emperor of Mankind! Heresy! What? That's right, Sister of Battle. Why, yes, this would be heresy. Sadly, this breaks canon way too much. So no Holy Emperor of Terror for you, Grabble Gene. Though you could make your own frog army, be it mutants or Xenos, then use whatever army rules you want that fit that kind of frog army you want. They do have some snazzy frog models in Age of Sigmar that you can kit bash, though. Another big no-no. Don't make your character godlike. Or Naruto Shippuden Bad Writing 101. A. People get annoyed with you very quickly. B. People will refuse to roleplay with you. C. You may make money writing a horrible fanfic people will laugh at. When you get more than one character being a god, you wind up reenacting the first Toy Story movie. Can't touch me, Sheriff. I brought my attack dog with a built-in force field. Well, I brought my dinosaur who eats force field dogs. Unleash Ultima. And then you're in an ugly CGI baby's crib while she eats the face off of Potato Head Thancred. As you can see, this is a giant mess. Got a couple more things. You don't have to tell everyone your tragic backstory all at once. You can sprinkle it in when it's appropriate. It's better to get to know someone first, as well as get the idea for whatever kind of scenario they're going to want to roleplay. You'll find that there are a lot of casual scenarios when meeting people. Another thing to keep in mind is it's hard to be a loner or constantly aggressive. People won't generally gravitate towards that, though sometimes being a loner can't really be helped. Me, for example, I can be kind of shy and I don't like to butt in on things, as I don't want to come off as rude. It's not so much a character thing as it is my own personal flaw that I have, including crippling social anxiety. I don't like to be surrounded by people when by myself, and my first year of the formerly LunarCon, I was rather nervous. That year, I was a small Lalafell, and someone who made their character look like Keanu Reeves came by and gave me a flower and a hug while I stood in line for a panel. I still have that flower and still have a fond memory of that. Though the line was taking quite a while, and some nice people held my spot, I did tarot readings for free, a way for me to interact with people and make the line a bit more fun. So sometimes you can't help being the lone wolf. Try and do something that can allow you to interact with others, but do so in a respectful and polite manner. Though do be careful when impersonating people. Always try to be flattering and not cruel about it. We're all here to have fun, and in some cases, not sure who, but someone may or has done a parody that is rude and hurtful. Okay, enough sentimental shenanigans. We're getting into technical stuff now. Technical functions. Grammar is important. Remember, you're talking to a person, not sending text messages. When you're role playing, don't have your character say lol or unrelated slang. When role playing with friends, it's fine, or people you're more comfortable with around you. Oh, pardon me. In general, I wouldn't advise it. Hold on. I might skip something. No, I didn't. I wouldn't advise it. Use a /laugh or /giggle in relation to the lol. They give you different forms of laughing based on your race. Experiment with your emotes to see how they look and respond. /doubt is different for many races, and some are more stern about it, others more playful. Though there are a few ways to indicate speaking in and out of character. Using quotation marks and say chat for character for in character, but use parentheses to indicate out of character, or OOC, followed by a dash icon or a colon. Sometimes other kinds of brackets will be used, but these two methods are generally used. You can also use tells to keep things one-on-one, or discuss with another person when in public roleplay. Don't be afraid to coordinate and talk through tells. One common use for this is to privately send /dice rolls while in party group with them, using a designated number you both agreed on as the maximum. While acting out a combat scenario, this will help regulate who is winning the conflict. You can also just do /random out in public. Usually the winner of the roll will be the first to post. For combat, you can always do a best of 5 for as long as you both want to go, turning it into a Peter Griffin chicken fight. Setting up a shortcut can also help you reply faster. Reply faster to a tell you recently received. I set mine as Control+R. You can also cycle through this to go between other people that have sent you tells recently. You can make a macro button if you're on a console and want to make an easier way to get a hold of people. /tell followed by $T and greater than will send a tell to your target. You can also use a combination of actions and talking. While in private talk or public talk, this method is also acceptable. It would be akin to how you would write from a third-person perspective in a book. I would highly advise keeping things in third person if you use custom emotes, as their layout is made for that. All right. Emoting your roleplay. Now then, remember, we're in game with emotes. You can use these to interact with what others have said or to even punctuate an action that you've described in a custom emote. Cat boys with the joy emote can express joy-filled ear wiggles. So let's say you're a cat boy and you're having a delightful conversation. Sorry about that. With someone. You mention how your day has been great and you had a fantastic meal. You can use joy emote to give your ears a delighted but cute ear wiggle. Then make a hearty joke after using giggle or a simple joke for a simple joke. Or laugh for a hard-hitting joke. You can also do this to show that your Makote is just a joyful sort. Be sure to experiment with your emotes and get familiar with them. Though perhaps you want a specific demeanor while you're idle, /C pose will change your character's posture while standing and sitting. So feel free to find the one that you like the most. Ground sit is also very useful, especially if you're wanting to sit nonchalantly on a table rather than lean against it. Using /sit will normally bring you to the closest chair. Now, we spoke of custom emotes. How do you do that? For those who can't see or aren't in the thing, I'm doing /emote, ponders as she shifts her weight, her fingers drumming against her chin. This is an example. You can do it with /em. Oh, hold on. There we go. Though do keep in mind, everyone in the vicinity can see this. If you're wanting a more private tell chat with someone, you can still do custom emotes by using indicators, like we talked about earlier, be it using quotation marks for speech in between actions, or using dashes or asterisks around your actions. Just some way for the other person to actually understand the difference between speech and action. Another common pitfall with custom emotes is that it will put your name first. So keep that in mind while you're typing it out, as putting your name again, or he, she, they, would be right after your name, and it would read rather oddly. This only applies to \em emotes. Sending tells while using symbols or using symbols in normal say chat won't have this issue. Okay, where to find role-playing? Where to go? This year at AetherCon, there's going to be a role-playing venue going on. Just look for the role-play and artist market on tomorrow's schedule and take some time out of your day. There are also plenty of venues outside of AetherCon that you'll see advertisements for. They'll give you a rough gist of what they're about. I would highly advise against anything that says 18 plus, especially if you're not of age. Perhaps you're a bit too shy for that. Then there's always role-playing with friends or a person that you ran into that you also feel comfortable around. It doesn't hurt to inform someone that you're new to the scene. They might be too, or perhaps they remember a time when they themselves were new. There will always be elitists no matter what you're doing, so don't take it to heart. But do take notes on given pointers and valid criticisms. They may have an RP toggle above their head. You can turn this on also by typing \roleplaying, or select yourself and hit the edit search info button. It has the options for online, offline, and etc. You can change it there too. Keep in mind you don't have to have this on to roleplay. You can always roleplay at any suitable time, but it does notify others that you're wanting to roleplay. You can also play a tabletop RPG and get a feel for things that way. It may be a bit easier and can even provide pre-made characters. Keep in mind that things like Adventurers League will be more focused on game mechanics and pushing you through, rather than letting you roleplay. But it can give you some experience at least. Also, I can't stress this enough. Stay the Thal's ball-in kerfluffle away from Balmung quicksands. No, just no. It's a den of debauchery. You're just wee budgies in a sea of hawks, eagles, and a creepy squirrel with a net gun. All right, closing statements. It all starts somewhere. We're not all born amazing role players. We're not the cool kids in that one propaganda film about Dungeons and Dragons. We're all people, individuals, and potatoes. Other RPG games can help, giving you an idea and challenge to try and stay in character. For some, this will be easy, but others will find it hard. Keeping notes where you can easily reference them will make things easier for you and your role-playing experience. Don't shy away from tools that can benefit you. You can always walk away from any role-play situation that you feel uncomfortable with. There are always more people to role-play with. Don't take all of what I've said as 100% verbatim as the only one way. Things change, evolve all the time. Also, people have different rules for things. Though all in all, be polite. Keep in mind the basics of how to roleplay. You don't have to have a fully developed character. Practice makes perfect. Be open about communication. Be proactive and make memorable moments. Have a plan to kill everyone you meet. Wait, that last one's a sniper. Ignore that last one. Have a great time at AetherCon. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Q&A time. Let's go. All right, and let's change this a little bit. I'm going to bring this over, boop, and AetherCon full screen. Okay. Do we have any questions in the scene? And do we have any in the... Let me go ahead and get this up so we can see everything. Debauchery and tourists. Okay. Okay. Let's see. It's my old home server. What is wrong with Ada? I'm not sure, honestly. I couldn't tell you. I haven't been to Adamantoise. I kind of stick on this server mostly. Oh, you're quite welcome. I'm glad people enjoyed it. I tried to make sure it's informational and entertaining. Let's see. Gabriel Loria, what do you think about characters who aren't the Mary Sue but are portrayed as very important position characters? That requires a bit of finesse also. I wouldn't advise it as a first time thing. You might want to just start your character early on and work them up towards their being a captain or someone of great importance. You can also roleplay as one, but kind of keep in mind what the character would do. And don't be a giant butt about it. Can you talk about Final Fantasy 14 RPing that takes place out of game? Oh, that kind of varies also. Discord is still going to be kind of like what I mentioned with indicators a lot. Is what you're going to use mostly. And you're still going to make a character. You're going to need to develop a character a bit more when it's off-world kind of situation. Oh, I'm sorry no one role plays on Siren. Do you have any suggestions for running RP venues? Well, set up a firm set of rules because you don't want people to break these. Remember, you can ban people now. They have changed that. You can ban people from your houses. But also keep in a overarching mind of what you want to develop and what you want to design it as. Oh, hello, Coda. People promote a yes and method public role play scenes. What is the polite way to disengage if you still don't vibe with it? Oh, the way to go about that is still just to, thank them for their time and be like, this isn't quite for me. And then you just kind of leave. Like, just let them know that it isn't your thing. Are there ways to improvise whenever something is asked about your character that they should know, but you don't? You can always, if they're asking about it, you can always cheat and use a pair of percentage dice, or you can just use a die that has odd and even numbers. And then if it's something that's supposed to like or something, just kind of roll for it. Whenever I do percentage dice, it's how much they like it to how much they hate it. So they might really like it. They might kind of be mad about it, or they might absolutely detest the thing. They might want to just throw it out a window. Okay, do you have any recs for venues or events for newbie RPers who want to casually dip their toes into writing? We do have the event coming on LunarCon, which is going to be more casual. You can also grab a couple of friends. Maybe you have some that kind of already know. You can also just kind of fish around in the main cities and see what they're advertising. Then you can also just run a Google search and see what people are advertising, because people do have Google pages for their avenues and things. And my phone thinks that I am trying to ask it something. Okay, let's see. What other questions do we got? Let's see. As experienced RPers, start small. Okay, there's some people kind of answering things. Let's see. Websites to see. Used to have an OC and put them in game. Do I go amnesia route on how she got here, or do I make an entirely new? Oh, well, it depends on how you're introducing your character to the world, because based on how they're being introduced to it would mean if they'd have memories, or if they'd just be a new entire character. And Lucifer Mink has a good point there. Final Fantasy 14 venues.com is a decent source for venues. Okay. You want to see RP streams? Oh, that can vary. Sometimes those can get a bit risque. There are some nice adventure places that you could easily get some nice role plays for. Oh, you're certainly welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, let's see. Can I find more questions? Because we still got about another 5 minutes. Okay, Google, you need to stop doing that, please. Any quick lore of the character I roleplay as? Okay, for my lore, I actually went the route of adopted as a Viera, like found as a small kitten, so she has an unorthodox name. And if you ever seen the movie American Tail, how whenever they bring people in from other countries and they couldn't pronounce their names properly, they just went with the translation or a rough translation of what her last name was, and it's just kind of stuck because she started as a storm officer because she wanted to make a difference and protect people. Because her mother had like an area where she defended, but she wanted her own place, and she felt a calling to the sea. So that's a little bit of a tidbit. Okay. And also Party Finder. Yeah, a lot of venues like to throw up in Party Finder that they have their thing going. You came out recently, may have some streams. Oh, okay. Targeting another player you were talking to, so character looks at, and that's also another good point. If you're talking to someone, you may want to select them so that way your character is actually facing them, and you don't have like a weird thing where like their back is to them, kind of like this, and that'd just be like, conversing to no one. But I would actually be like meaning for a small toaster over there. Because while you have them selected, your face is facing them. So I could select anyone in the group and I would be facing them. Okay. Also, don't forget to RP walk into places. You can set up a shortcut for it, or you can check in your list of settings. So that way you're not running through things. And a lot of venues do have a rule for not having weapons. Unless it's a fight club. Usually they don't. They just allow you to take your weapons in with you. Do we have any more questions? We still got 4 more minutes. Yeah, remember the kind of with Aethercon, put your minions away when you're entering a venue so more people can get in, because some venues are super popular. And if you have your minion out, you're kind of depriving someone to be able to get in, which is just a politeness thing. Even if it goes with the glam, if it's a glam contest, bring out the minion for a short time for the contest if you can. Then when you're done, put it away. Do you think my character is cool? Let's find you. Target. Let me see. I gotta get a closer look. Let me go ahead and run over to you. Okay, we'll inspect. Oh, your character looks very nice. I'd say more they have a cuteness to them. Like an outdoor woodsy cuteness. Yes, oh my god, OC rating. Let's see. Okay, I'm checking both because I don't want to leave people out on there on the Twitch stream. Okay, still got 3 minutes. Good. Okay, how should somebody prepare an RP venue? On my main, I run a boutique and was thinking of opening it as an RP venue when business is slow. What do you think I should prepare for them? Okay, the main thing is to prepare, are you actually going to sell items to people? Because some venues do sell items and they'll have to pay money. Some venues just do it as just role play the item. So they don't actually have any items to sell. And then another thing to keep in mind is make sure if it's going to have seating, have plenty of seating for everyone. Make sure people can roam around and browse goods, since you said it was a boutique. Make sure there's plenty mannequins and stuff so people could eye them up and down. They can role play browsing your store. Ah, yes, the RP market. I am also looking forward to this because I had plenty of people wanting to do the RP market. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. All right, what do you wish Final Fantasy XIV had in terms of RP? Like some sort of feature. I wish they had more emotes. That's one thing. And some way to organize your emotes better, because we just kind of have these broad, big things for it. Oh, another thing to keep in mind while I'm thinking about it is, I don't have it on this. I kind of took it away. Anyways, when you're in your emote thing, there is a little thing you can tick in the corner that turns off it's spamming emotes. So that way it won't have this person does this to that. It's a message log down at the bottom. And that way you can do custom dances and stuff. Because when I'm dancing at some venues, I like to stream dances in between to kind of keep them flowing with the music. But if I had the message thing on, that would be a big old stream of stuff and people would miss a lot of their chat. Yeah, chat bubbles would be really nice because I do like it in the other things. But okay, do we have one last question? I might be able to squeeze one out. Custom titles, yeah, all those would be very nice. Let's see. You want the Graha Tia burger emote? That would be great. A burger emote would be fantastic. I would love that. Burgers are delicious. Do /me. Oh, instead of EM, yeah, it happens a lot because then you gesture to yourself. And some other things do have /me as their custom emote thing. Okay. Anyways, that's time. Thank you all for attending my panel. I hope you really enjoyed it. I worked 2 weeks on it and have